All right. Well, I'm happy to be here for two reasons. One, because I really enjoy visiting with hospital development professional. In my past, I worked for Listening Health System, which operated 70 hospitals in 13 states. I was responsible for all the fundraising for them. And here in Omaha, the Allegiance system is now here high. That's responsible for the 5 hospitals in the Omaha metropolitan area in the foundation. And now, as a consultant, we have multiple critical access hospitals throughout the state and other states. So, I know the challenges that we have. Know how difficult it is to not only raise money, but to coordinate all the other hats that you're wearing sometimes. So, but let me ask you a question. How many of you, as foundation director, received a request to your foundation? Okay. And let me ask you, when that request came in, was your CEO excited about the request? Your foundation board? Your hospital board? And so, do you want more requests? Does anybody want a request? Okay. So what keeps you from thinking about raising those kinds of planning here? Strictly or request, can be a trust.
I'm sorry, this is for the people online to hear you.
Okay. Can be bequest, a trust, can be annuity. There's a variety of planned gifts. In fact, we have designed a kind of copyrighted a description of all these different types of planned gifts. And many of these gifts, like the trust and to some degree the annuity, really involve a legal dimension and legal expertise to craft the trust agreements and institute the gift. But today, we're going to talk about the 3 gifts that what am I doing? There we go. Next.
Diane.
All right. The chair will be bequest. So do you have to do it or?
It works out. Sometimes when I have to talk to them. Yeah.
Okay, so does everyone know what a bequest is? And your donors and everyone else knows what a bequest is. It's the simplest kind of gift. Basically, in a will, what a person is doing is identifying their assets and where they go upon their death. It's as simple as that. A bequest is taking one of those assets and providing it to someone or to an institution. So a person might, a person who's not married or a spouse is deceased may have several bequests to different individuals or organizations. Typically, in the married couple, all of the assets go to the surviving spouse. So a charitable bequest is simply one of those bequests that go to a charity. All right, so how it works. So there's 3 different kinds of bequests. So there is the specific bequest. So that's $10,000 to go to my sister, residual bequest, which would be should there be funds at the end of my estate that are left over, all those funds can go this direction or that. And the contingent simply is based on a certain circumstance. If my uncle dies before my sister, then it goes to my uncle. But if he's deceased, it would go to my sister. So those are the kinds of specific kinds of bequests in the will. So the attorney then that is drafting the will just indicates what the individual wants. So how many of you have a will? Okay. And obviously you need to have a will, and as individuals age, and the reason why they initially had a will, which may be as a young married couple, they're taking a trip and their kids are going to be left behind in case something happened. They need to have a will, or you need to have a will. But as time goes on, the reasons for that initial will change, and also what's in the will and the distribution can change. So an individual who is older, may feel that they do not need to be transferring or making specific bequests to entities that they had previously included in their will. So times change, directions change, and now they're looking beyond that. So one idea for you that's very simple, and if you have a donor who's interested, it takes a phone call to the donor's attorney to draft what's called a codicil. And all that is a piece of paper that's stapled to the will that indicates that the donor at a such and such date, and as a notary public signs, has decided to bequeath X amount of money to your hospital. It's a very simple process, and anyone can do that, and it's an attorney would draft a codicil. So in Nebraska, there's certain language that the state laws provide. So each state would have their own codicil language, but the attorney would already know that. And it's a very simple thing. The donor comes in, signs it, and it's now you're in a person's will. So it's a very simple process. Life insurance. How many of you have life insurance? Did you include me as your beneficiary? You could. Okay. So you have life insurance. There's a need for that life insurance. And again, as you age, the need for that insurance, or who is the beneficiary of that insurance, changes. So as you're in your 70s or 80s, and you took out an insurance policy for your kids when they were 5 years old, whether they received that insurance or not, or whether they need all of that, is questionable. And so this is, again, an easy gift to make. And there's a variety of ways this can happen. So a donor can simply take out a life insurance policy and name your hospital foundation as a beneficiary. They would make the premium payments, and they would receive a tax deduction for the premium payments that they're making. And then upon their death, you would be the beneficiary of that life insurance.
But an easier situation is when a person now who is older has paid up policies that they feel they no longer, the beneficiary of those policies no longer needs them. And all they have to do to make a change is call their life insurance agent and say, I want to change the beneficiary for my $100,000 policy from my son who no longer needs it to your hospital foundation. And they'd say, so 50,000 would go to the hospital. Again, it's a phone call. The life insurance agent makes that change on the beneficiary. The paperwork, I don't think it has to be notarized. It's sent to the donor who signs it, and it's as simple as that. And now you're getting a $50,000 gift. So people in their 60s and 70s, and certainly in their 80s, have these insurance policies that are no longer meaningful for the reason that they took out the policy to begin with. And so this is a real opportunity for you to receive a significant gift from the donor that's not really writing a check or missing anything. This is an after death circumstance, and it's an easy gift. So in this case, the tax consequences for the bequest and the life insurance beneficiary is it reduces the assets of the person who died. So the taxes are on the estate taxes, and estate tax level now is so high that well over 95% of people who die fall below that. Although there would be obviously farmers and ranchers who own significant property who their estate would be eligible for estate tax. So any gift that reduces the estate brings it down, and then there's less taxes to pay. So that's also a benefit from the donor.
So good. It worked so well for you.
All right, the retirement plan. How many of you have a retirement plan? How many of you are going to retire tomorrow? Okay, so this is the same kind of situation. You have a 401k through your hospital. They're making payments, you're making payments. And so as you get to retirement age, what's important at retirement is not how much money you have, it's the stream of revenue that's coming to you. That's what you're living off of. And so the 401k is a significant part of that stream of revenue. But for some donors or individuals, they can say, I don't need all of this, or I want to transfer this one 401k that I started some time ago that I no longer need. And they then transfer that to your foundation. And with that, then, if they transfer it immediately, there would be an income tax deduction. If they do it upon the death of their spouse, so that it's keeping to this transferring through the state, it would be an estate tax deduction. But again, it's a phone call away. So the donor simply calls the agent or the estate planner and adds a beneficiary or changes the total beneficiary for one of those policies. Very easy to do. It's done all the time. And again, you're receiving a gift that you otherwise wouldn't receive. It's a painless gift from the individual donor because It's not, again, writing out a check or depleting assets that they depend on. And so it's a very simple process. So the whole idea then is that these three types of gifts are easy to make, are easy to understand. And my objective today is, since many of you are from out of town and you're driving back and you're at the gas station filling up your car, that you're going to feel comfortable asking the next person that drives on the other side of and asking them for a plan gift. Wouldn't that be something? No, I was just kidding. But the point is, you don't have to be an attorney. You don't have to have intimate knowledge of trust benefits. This is kitchen table conversation. Your donors understand it. They know what a 401k is and what the beneficiary forms are. They know about life insurance and who their beneficiaries are, and they know what a bequest is. They know, you know, it's just each one of those are a phone call away to execute those gifts. So, to make you feel more comfortable, we're going to do some role playing. And let me see what time it is. So we're doing really well. We're going to ask you because, when I'm sitting and the speaker says we're doing role playing, I say, I don't want to do role playing. But I'm the speaker, so I get to say it. So here's the deal. You just pair with the person next to you. You pick one of these gifts and talk to the person next to you and say, what's your name in the red? Jane. So Jane is going to donate to all of you, but right now she's going to donate to you. So you say, Jane, you've been a donor to the hospital a long time, and your children are born at the hospital. And have you ever thought about, including the hospital in your estate? And Jane says, yes, I really wanted to do that. I always thought about that. And so then you say, well, Jane, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is call your attorney, and he just drives a codicil. You don't have to change your will. It's just an additional sheet of paper that's asked. So Jane is going to say yes to all of you, and I know you have a lot of assets, so you can distribute them. And then just pick what you want, whether it's the bequest, the life insurance policy, or the retirement plan, and then go back and forth. So pick what instrument you want, and then talk to your donor, and then reverse the conversation. All right. Go ahead.
It's like to what that. Yeah. Have you worked? A little over a year. Yeah. Why is that? Why do you guys have a lot of volunteers? We've had, honored loved ones that so but I like here started day like it's 30 times here. Those are really awesome. It was like you had it. I think it's fine. So what the you're about more statements. You don't have one. Yeah. Even no, but you're I'm not really sure. I haven't stopped doing this one. I go out with them since the house. Yeah, I'm just. Yeah, yeah, that's not.
Oh.
I just yeah. I don't see the right.
I'm kind of in gray.
That's true. That's very low. That's too bad for your child. That's it. To and now much over the gala. So this happened before I started. So then I, like those kids are where we're actually doing that. That's but I think you're not. It's been something that it's such a small numbers. I was just saying,
For some reason.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I know you can count me as it. Yeah, or the super things for yeah. So yeah.
There's a few that when it's released, it's
Looking at states like.
Or next question. But then it's is the influence it or just people like I want to for
Some people try for more than we try to be
Juice and here, because I read that size, right? I graduated. Yeah. Yeah. Fine. And then I moved to town. It's such a fun thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was.
Yeah. Interesting.
So.
Yeah, I'm sort of like, that's kind of. You try
Or traffic.
So.
Yeah.
I know.
I just had it. For the first time.
Yeah.
I love it. The two, there's new additions. Yeah. I got yeah. I had to get on your job is like stuff. Yeah, it's just, is your I have an office that got severe dollars.
You know, good time.
Mine is not all.
National. It's not as much. So it's something.
He's not like not.
Yeah.
You want that.
Yeah, just.
Field meals. Yeah.
Vacation. We'll come have your own lunch. I gotta go to work too. I felt a little bad because we had to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually it's good. It's just turned hard. It's just now you're completely sorry.
Now, I think.
Yeah. I got one.
What are you doing?
Oh my gosh, you're doing such safe all this. I think you can.
Don't ask.
I know.
I've been so boy.
Exchange things that way.
Yeah.
I don't.
I guess I could tell you what my daughter was thinking. So I have a daughter, her name's Iris. And another boy, I think I'm talking, but I can't because it's weird. So, what about yours? What did you you know, this is never. I don't tell. I say this. Like this day. Oh, I'm trying to go with my niece.
Okay, can you hear me? Is this on? No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, anybody receive any gifts? Did any of your donors indicate how much that gift would be? Were they very demure about that? Were they excited? But they were now giving to your foundation instead of theirs. That wouldn't be, I mean, gosh, that'd be hard. But they did it. So did you, what about life insurance? You do that and the 401k? All right. What did you learn by this exercise? Anything? It's kitchen table. You did it. It's easy to do. So the whole idea is that you might be visiting with a donor or having a casual conversation and somehow, a bequest or estate planning comes up. And then this is your cue to say, it's really easy to change your will or include the foundation in your life insurance or as a beneficiary of the 401k. And their response is going to be, oh, I never thought about that. And then it's a matter of, well, if you want to include this in your estate plan, all you have to do is call your attorney. He just prepares a codicil, and most people know what that is. And it's easy as that, or life insurance. But when you talk to people who are older who have life insurance policies, they're sitting there, they're paid up, they're forgotten. And, that's a very simple gift to make. That you don't have to do the entire policy, but some of it. So I encourage you to use that strategy. You may be talking to a donor about an annual fund or even your golf tournament or your gala. It's also an opportunity at your galas to maybe put a piece of paper on the table. Did you know it's easy to make a gift to the foundation through your existing life insurance policies, that sort of thing. Okay. Any questions?
I do that.
Yes.
So Amanda kicked me out of her house because I wasn't knowledgeable enough on the tax incentives.
So Amanda was a difficult person. She was difficult. So when you walked out of her house, what did you do?
So I couldn't answer her questions on the tax incentives because I said, wait, there's a lot of tax breaks.
Sure.
Other than, well, she said, now my kids aren't inheriting as much money. Of course, they're going to pay less taxes. But what is the tax?
So you're talking about were you talking about insurance?
I don't know what I'm talking
about. I don't either. So let's just take the bequest. So if Amanda, okay. So Amanda says, well, what are the tax ramifications of making a gift to the hospital through my estate? So again, it's not an income tax deduction because a person can change their will at any time. So the gift hasn't been consummated. So therefore, it's not a current gift, and therefore it's not an income tax deduction. So what it is, it's a future gift that when Amanda dies, and we all know she has a very short life expectancy, that you would be in the bequest. And so it reduces the estate. So if Amanda had a $5 million estate and she's going to include the hospital and for 100,000, then the estate now is $4,900,000. And so if there are taxes on the estate, it's based on that rather than the $5 million. So for most people, the estate tax deduction isn't very relevant unless they have a lot of property. Because then they're trying to reduce their estate tax in different ways. And this is one of the ways to do it. So you go back in the house now.
I go back.
You never go back. Okay. Anybody else?
So kind of adding to that with inheritance tax,
Yeah,
it would be on the 4.9
Yes.
versus the 5. Okay.
correct. And I apologize for not checking what that amount is, but it's ratcheted up extremely high. So you have to have a lot of property to be eligible for estate tax.
Is there a little one sheet available to us where you can have, you said you have a summary sheet
Oh,
on this?
yeah, we can, you mean like to do a promo?
Yeah, yes, like you pulled out a little,
Oh, that.
yeah. Like a magic sheet.
Well, I put it back over there. Yes, we can send you that. The link with the drawing thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yes.
Some other slides. Share some paper. There's a couple more slides.
All right.
Does anybody have the last time we met in Columbus, I remember a great a program that somebody had where they offered up will writing at the hospital. You guys did, right, Mary Lynn?
Yep.
And what I liked about this program is because there are some people just like, raise your hands again, who has a will? See? Half of you do not have a will. Sometimes the first step is you're like, do you have a will? What's the benefit of having a will? Hey, by the way, on top of getting this free service, or I think, did you guys offer it for?
We did offer it for free.
They offered it for free at the hospital to write real wills. And here you have a foundation helping you write will and telling you the benefits of it. And kind of, there's a nice little one-sheeter on, giving it to your children, giving it to charity, and what charities they're helping you in this will written. And so why not include them in your will? So just an idea. I really liked that they did that. I know it was a good, you don't know, obviously, like we said earlier, it's not an immediate impact because it is in a will.
It's like a 30-year play. So
Yeah.
now what I'm trying to do is what we found with the summary of it. Mary Lanning got this much, on there. The other nonprofits in town altogether got this much. So I'm trying to get the community foundation to pay for it.
Yes.
And just, I also think too, it kind of keeps us at arm's length where you could still refer donors into it. But a lot of times people were like, I don't want you to know anything about this. And I'm like, no, there's a wall there that we don't, unless you disclose it. But I still think since they met in our office, we sponsored it, they still were like, So I feel like with the community foundation, I feel like, we then could refer them into that. And it still would be a nice partnership. So we're going to try that out in there. So we did use a big national firm to do that. And it was expensive. It was $7,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to look for someone who is retired, who has that expertise in town and that is a trustworthy, person. So we're going to just pilot that and see how it works.
Yes. That's a very good point. Another reason why I wanted later, we're going to talk about community foundations.
So
just that partnership and the benefit of it. I mean, just like she said, you know, they didn't want the hospital to be the person. But, you know, most people understand that a community foundation, if there is a community foundation within your area, understand that, you know, community foundation is out there, has like these little scholarships and trusts and stuff, and it's very helpful. So having that partnership with them is really, and you guys are in the box and having it happen.
Yeah, yours. Yeah, so we have a couple of people we're identifying, they're looking to pay for it and so forth. And now we're just kind of figuring out, like, if I refer 2 donors in there, do I pay a certain portion of that? Do they still cover the overhead, you know, of it? So we're just kind of right in the that.
Just write it down. I remember hearing about that. That was a year and a half ago.
All right. We are playing this schedule. I wish.
Here.
Oh, that's right. The microphone he has is phone link mostly to so the Zoom people can hear us.
All right. Hi, everybody. Ryan Strawhecker. That was the fastest plan giving session I've seen Paul Strawhecker ever give. So I'm going to give a couple other, this is the only part of the agenda that we're talking about plan giving. So I'm going to give you a couple of my thoughts as well. So, you know, our company has done plan giving training. I've done charitable gifts, those kinds of things, charitable activities and things like that. And we actually have like a 6-hour training that we provide. So there's a lot more to say. So one of the things is that you do, you know, want a legacy program usually. So that's kind of a catchphrase. Legacy program is a way to tell your donors that there's sort of a system to leaving a bequest, you know, that you're going to recognize people that leave a request. Another effective thing I will mention is that, you know, if someone is going to put you in a will, they really have 2 choices. They're either going to leave you an amount or they're going to leave you a percentage. And so it's really interesting over time. You might think 1% or 2% is a very small gift. And then sometimes it's a really big gift. So sometimes the 2% is way more worth, you know, than $10,000 or something like that. So, you know, they have to make that choice. You know, they're either going to say, I want to leave the hospital $10,000, or they're going to say, I'm going to leave a percentage. And another sort of tip in talking about that, that's a little bit of a trend, is in sort of the plan giving world, there's the theme that you might leave your, let's say you have 3 children, you're going to leave 1/3 of your estate to each child. Okay. And so you might talk to folks about making their charitable gifts their 4th child. It's kind of a common way to talk about it, where, you know, you want to leave enough assets for your children or whatever they want to do with their loved ones. But then have you thought about how you're benefiting the world outside of your family and what that looks like? And so they might say 25% of their estate's going to go to charitable gifts, and then they might divide that up however they want to do it. So it's about getting comfortable with these conversations. And, you know, Paul walked through kind of how easy it is to sort of have the conversations. There's a clear difference, though. A plan giving conversation is a personal conversation where you're getting into, you know, they need to feel comfortable with you to be talking about a will, right? And when they're talking about a will, they're talking about their life's assets. They've spent 40, 60, 80 years on earth getting these assets. So it's meaningful for them. And so, you know, it's different than, hey, will you give a $5,000 sponsorship check? But you can also psych yourself out about it. You know, if you're going to go into a meeting and you know you're going to talk to someone about it. So, you know, just like relax, and it's just another part of your job because you're trying to support the hospital over time and long term. And it's, you know, you're basically asking people to consider this other way to contribute. So it's really simple as that. So those are just some of my thoughts. We do and have done presentations on like 10 10 things that you can do pretty affordable, cheaply in your program to develop a legacy program, and just like basic things. The other thing I talk about when I talk about plan giving is that you need to do something consistent for 3 years straight. So you can't just say, hey, in 2025, we're going to go ask 10 people for plan gifts and then never talk to them again for the next 5-10 years. You have to do the same thing for 3-4 years in a row before you really see any results. Because people that are leaving their life's assets to you are doing it because they trust that you're going to be there over time. And if you're sort of sketching how you're communicating with them, then they'll find some other way for that money to go. So when I'm going to leave a large asset to you, it's because I trust that you're going to be there and be effective for generations to come, which is different than the annual $5,000 gift, right? Any thoughts or questions on any of that?
So I have a question. So after you get a bequest, do you do a follow-up with them, or how do you communicate with those people afterwards?
So Paul talked about the different vehicles. Some of those are transactional. Hey, once I've done the stock exchange or whatever, at the end it's done and the gift is made. With the bequest, they can change that bequest at any time, and people do that. I know there's lots of statistics about that. I think, gosh, I'm probably gonna get it wrong, so I don't want to just off the cuff say anything, but people do sort of change their will within so many years of passing away. Like, there's a trend to that. So that's what I meant by the Legacy Society is, if you tell me in 2024 that you're going to put the hospital, my hospital in your legacy, in your will, I want to recognize it somewhere. So then, like, every time you come to the hospital, you're seeing your name on the wall. Like, the chances of you changing that gift aren't going to be that as high because it's up there, but of course, just like you might communicate annually or what you're going to do, you can always send people letters, you can send handwritten notes. Oftentimes the Legacy Society is an annual luncheon where the 10 people that have done it are going to come and get recognized in a special way. So there are some strategies to that, but you don't want to just not talk to them and never bring it up again.
I'd like to ask the room if anybody has a legacy program already where they do have an example of how they maintain communication with
We put in our giving society. So we have like a legacy giving society, and individuals lifetime giving of 10,000, corporations of 25,000, where if they named us in their will, they also go in the giving society. So that's one, small way you can recognize early on.
Any other hospitals have something similar? If you're from Methodist,
I have to admit, we have somebody who's dedicated to this. This is not my area of expertise.
and what did you say?
I know we have a giving society, but I'm not too familiar with that aspect. I focus more on in giving some other person. So.
We refer to our Centurion donors. And actually, I don't know if Sam is there still, but he was predecessor to before me, and we are still experiencing the weight of a lot of the gifts that he was in.
Oh, great. Good.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So with this, just you talked about the turnover and those kinds of things. It seems like we do have a legacy wall, which I need to explore a little bit more as to who is on that wall. But due to the amount of turnover that has happened, how would you go about approaching those people, saying hey, we gave this gift XYZ amount of time, we haven't met? How would you initially kind of start that, especially with someone who's saying a nursing home that they have limited mobility and their schedule's always so full with PT and I've got a haircut and all those things. How would you approach those people who have that legacy giving and not being oh yeah, we've had a bunch of turnover. Do you still want to give a gift to us? You don't know who I am?
Well, a couple thoughts, and then everyone can hear. So the question is about maybe there's been turnover over years since someone's made a gift, and how do you follow up with people? So, I mean, our job is to be warm and to not be cold, right? And so, yeah, I could call up and say, hey, 15 years ago, I've got this piece of paper says that you're giving this amount. That's probably not the right approach. I mean, you're essentially introducing yourself. Can we go grab lunch? Just like you would with anybody else, right? But the first thing you need to do is you do need to research and document what you know and what you have. If there's 15 people in the Legacy Society, when did you get the notification? I mean, we all know that the databases and CRMs, like who knows what information is where. Is it in a piece of paper from 20 years ago? So you got to collect the information and kind of start to make sense of what you know amongst this group. And then you're going to create a strategy of invite a couple of different couples together to a meeting and hear from the CEO on what we're doing now. I mean, if I've made a gift to your hospital, I've done it because I think the hospital is going to be around many years. And so, yes, the person that was in the position that I talked to matters, but it might not matter that much because I didn't make the gift for Susie, who was here 15 years ago. I made that for the hospital. So, I mean, it's our job to figure that out and just to restart the relationship. I don't think you would call up. So if it's a instrument where there's a legal reason that you need to talk to them about something, that's different than, hey, you did a bequest a long time ago that I heard about, I would talk to them without even mentioning it first, to be honest, and just start the relationship.
Shelby, what about, you said you guys have the Centurion and what your stuff's and gifts. Did you, when you came into the position, did you just have a great database of all of
Yeah. So those that we're aware of, at least, we report out in our annual report every year. Most of those conversations happen with the board members, but at least that are on the list.
I'm really upset because the 2 board members are not here and that's their job. But yeah, so you're saying your board members have those conversations with.
Well, so just last year, I approached our board at one of our evening meetings that we do annually, trying to get them to understand that this is a responsibility of them that we hope that they would be willing to assist us with. And I actually was pretty upfront and just asked how many of you have had conversations with supporters and donors of the foundation in this way. And maybe 5 of them raised their hand. And for those that don't know, we have 15 board members. And so it was just kind of like an eye-opening starting point. But several of our board members do have requests. So.
Guy mentioned that sometimes there's some legal issues. So an foundation decided to close. You had a conversation in Columbus. I'm not sure if you did or if I talked to another organization. So a foundation decided to close, and they had all these gifts that went to it that was continuously giving, and it was an estate gift, and then they had to. But the speaker said, "Oh no, it was that it was a scholarship was pending or something to that effect," and you have to. So that's why it's so important to have all these records. So we get to a new place, having those records, putting them all together, knowing where your money is coming from and where it's going, and then maybe starting, like Brian said, starting those relationships, with whether it's a lawyer at the estate, that says, okay, I know that we gave this because they're naming this on this wall. And that's the other thing when you talk about capital campaigns, you're building a hospital and you're building something new, where's the naming rights? How does that happen? So that's why it's important to have all that. But that's why there are some legal ones you're going to have that conversation. A lot of times it's not with the person itself, it's like a lawyer or, a bank that is holding on to that estate. But having to build those relationships, remember most of you are one-woman shops. And so that's why you have to rely on your board to help you. That's part of being on the board, right? Just Thanks.
I will add, one other thought was remembering. So statistically it's a 50% or even less. Like you have more bequests than you know about, right? So when you are working with your board or whoever, and you say, hey, we only know about 10 or we only know about 5, you probably have double of that in terms of the amount. Now, what the actual financial amounts are, you have no idea, right? So that's why if you stop promoting or talking to people about this and someone else is, that stuff can go away without you even knowing about it. So, I mean, there is all of these reasons to keep it in front of people in some way. All right. Did you want to take a break before 10:30? Okay, take a break now.
So we wanted to take a 5-10 minute break. So you guys, bathrooms again are down the hallway to the left. Just take a little bit of a break. Get ready for our roundtable discussion. Yeah, folders I provided. Yeah, so some of you know, they're like little sheets, worksheets. You can jot your notes, jot your questions. This is for you to take home. I'm not keeping this. Okay, so you have microphone right there. Where's the other one?
Down that way to the left by the elevators. So I thought to the water too. So she.